Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Q&A event. This event is about questions and answers. That's why we call it Q&A. I'm Tony Kosinek, and this is Mary, my good friend Mary Pennock, and she's going to be fielding your questions and embarrassing me, and we're going to have a good time together. But before we start, I want to ask everybody who's on Zoom. I want the students to, if you can, please turn on your cameras, because when we can see you, we can feel you better, and you can see each other, and it's an inspiration for everybody. However, one caveat: if you're like half naked or something, don't turn your camera on. If you're lying in bed and like you're drinking a beverage, don't turn your camera on. So stop doing those things. You put a shirt on, whatever, and turn your camera on, and then we'll all be able to see each other just like we were in a living room at a party. That would be good. Also, the people who are joining us are KabU students, but not only KabU students. We have people who are interested in Kabbalah who are joining us on Facebook and on YouTube. And I just want to tell everybody that you're all able to ask questions, right? Anybody can ask a question. We're giving a priority to our students because this is part of a regular event in the curriculum for KabU. But we're also looking to answer questions for people who don't know about Kabbalah or who are curious about it and are finding out about it for the first time. We already have 77 people connected to us, and we've only been going about a minute, so that's great. Now, if you ask a question on YouTube or on Facebook, it would really be cool if you would also write where you're from. It's an inspiring thing, and it helps us get a sense of the connections that are happening, the breadth of the connections, and the depth of it actually also. I just went right over, I just mowed right over her, so maybe Mary would like to say hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Tony. It's an honor, very, very deep pleasure to be with you here today.
Great.
Always enjoy being with you and you, friends. Thank you for having me.
Same here. It's really an inspiration to see all of you and to feel the need that you have. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what Kabbalah is in general. Just a short introduction. Because, as I said, there are people joining us who don't really know. They're curious about it. They haven't received the basic instruction. So Kabbalah is a science. It is a very human science. But what it deals with is very, very misunderstood. Because it deals not with the physical sciences as we know them. It does include that, actually, but it's not its focus. Its focus is on what we cannot fully perceive, what we hardly perceive at all. And the reason that happens is because we're built in a certain way. So Kabbalah is about how we reveal the large scope of life, where we actually are, what our life is really about, where we are, and how we live in it. It's ancient, and as I said, there have been many misunderstandings about this because for thousands of years, basically, we have been trying to understand where we are and where we're going just by looking at one quality in life, and that's not enough for us to understand what's going on. Now, it's interesting that there are kind of two tracks connected with how people think about Kabbalah and as opposed to what it actually is. There's an idea that it is mysticism, and then there's also a concept that's connected with it, which people don't really know about, which has to do with connection. And these two things, what we think of as mysticism, or the ability to see beyond the concealment of normal perception of reality has everything to do with connection. But we don't understand this, and this is why most of what we think about it is incorrect. But let me give you a little bit of background. The origin of Kabbalah, it originated actually in the creation of the creature itself, and we say that the first Kabbalist, we call him Adam. Adam is not some dude, 7,000 years ago, who was placed in a Garden of Eden, in time and place, but a quality within the creature itself, and we're all that creature, that actually has a connection to the whole system, has an inkling about the connection to the whole system. And this guy called Adam is the first Kabbalist, and we say that he wrote a book, and it was called Raziel HaMelech, and that's the angel Raziel, has to do with light. You can still find this book. But Kabbalah, this understanding, the grasp of the whole, of the connection, of a different perception of reality, didn't come fully to fruition in the human experience until about 4,000 years ago in Babylon. And we say that the father of Kabbalah is really Abraham. And the three Western religions trace their origin to him, and there's a reason why. We imagine that it happened according to the story that we know in the Bible, but actually what happened was that there was within the creature itself, humanity, which is a whole, is actually one being, experienced a huge surge of a force of egoism. That instead of feeling itself as a coherent whole, as part of the whole system of nature, it began to starkly feel itself as completely separated from every other aspect, from all other people, we'll call it. And there was a kind of an implosion of the civilization at that time. People could not live together. They couldn't communicate with each other. This is what the story of Babel is about. But it's talking really about this principle. All of these people scattered. They moved as far away from each other as they possibly could. What did Abraham do? What did he teach? He taught about the holistic interrelatedness of the entire system of nature. He taught people how to feel what was beyond perception of reality and not be pushed by the expansion of ego, while all of the rest of civilization took the expansion of ego on its face value and said, yeah, I don't like this, I'm out of here. But what Abraham taught was how to work with both the expanding force of ego and the coherent force of love and connection. And those people that we say were his students or his family were actually the Kabbalists. Where'd they come from? They are not they're not a race. They're not a single family in the sense of a physical family. They were actually representatives of all the small nations of that time. There were 70 small nations, by their definition of the time, a nation. And there were people who understood what he was saying, that there was a force above this separation that was happening, that was actually where we were intended to live, and that this explosion of ego was there for a purpose. Also, that the perception of higher reality could only happen over this kind of disconnection. So these the people from those 70 nations were people who felt and understood not to blow up human civilization and human connection, but that there was a way to bridge it and to use it to rise to a higher level. And they were actually the first United Nations. So those people who followed Abraham and became Kabbalists were the people who heard and understood that nature and human existence is a complete, interrelated, whole reality, and that the thing that hides the forces of nature from us, what happens to us tomorrow, where we're going, what we're about, and those who could feel the purpose of life were those who were attracted to what Abraham was teaching and moved with him. And the subsequent history, this sort of the establishment of Israel, which also is not what we think it is, it all follows from trying to understand. If we want to understand Kabbalah, we need to realize that it's talking about not something about the past, but something about forces, and the forces that either divide or connect. Because, and here's the hint for you for the rest of this Q&A. The more connected we are above apparent separations, the higher our level of consciousness, awareness, and the more complete our perception of reality is. This is what Kabbalah is here to teach us. Now, it is a complete science. It has all of the accoutrement of, all the pieces of our material science, but it deals with what causes those material effects. It's a science about the causal level. And the causal level, and I'll leave it at this, has got to do with something very different than what we think. It has to do with intention. So let's play that first clip, Dima, and then we'll jump right into questions and answers.
There is a dimension, a mechanism surrounding this world that manages and evolves us from the inanimate level of existence to the degree intended as life's fulfillment. And when we become capable of directly, internally sensing what nature's goal is, it becomes felt in us as our own purpose and the source of our happiness. And all the means that nature uses to get us there, the steps we go through along the way, and nature's ultimate goal are the meaning of life. But our problem is that we can't imagine what that kind of ultimate fulfillment could possibly be, because every fulfillment that we've ever known eventually disappeared. But that's only because we're on the opposite side of the wavelength of messages that the big mechanism is sending. We just don't pick up the signals. Well, actually we do, but we either disregard them or we feel them as something else. We're being evolved from the inanimate. What does inanimate mean? Are we talking about mountains and planets? Were you once a rock, now on your way to becoming some kind of a cosmic angel? What we need to understand is that the governing forces of nature aren't made of electrons, magnetic waves, gravitational forces, bosons. They're made of intentions. Impulse acting without dependence on matter. And the highest forces are attitudes and purposes, just like the mechanisms in our emotional makeup that steer our desires. Desire is nature's animating force. Intention and attitude determine what it does, what it creates. The outcome of what we experience as life with all of its inner and outer qualities. The needs we feel are all implanted in us by nature, but the thing that's being evolved in us is our ability to steer them in the same way that nature does, towards its same goal. The inanimate level simply means that we haven't yet developed the sort of intention that allows us to do that. In fact, inanimate intention isn't really intention at all. It can only follow desire wherever it leads. We just exist, like a rock does. We change only when massive forces of nature impact us with difficult personal problems, illness, a hurricane, a sense of pointlessness in life, an earthquake. But our own intention is not to change, just to become comfortably hardened in the exact form of intention that we're in now. And that is like riding on a train facing backwards. We need to get ahead of this process to see where life actually leads. The fundamental intention behind the mechanism of nature is to provide for the needs of all of the life forms that it develops. And our fundamental nature is opposite. It's to fill ourselves with as much pleasure as we can. Now, that seems like a good match, but it's only the starting point for our journey of life. Because the balance between those two opposite intentions can either conceal or reveal meaning. The great gift of this concealment is that it provides us not just the desire, the need to know the purpose, but in fact, it is the means to uncover it. So how do we use these two opposite intentions to unwrap the mystery? What do we need to sense in us? And why does it make such a profound difference in our perception?
Okay, let's get to the questions.
Okay, we have a very nice question from Priscilla. Dr. Lightman says that thoughts are a very powerful thing. Does this mean that thinking of bad or good things makes events that happen? Is there a way to help people with our thoughts?
Our thoughts on the level that we're at, without being on the first sort of step of spirituality, have no effect on anybody else in a direct way. We are completely connected, and it's very hard to tell what is cause and effect in terms of a thought that we have. We are actually not the authors of our own thoughts. Everything that's happening to us, both thoughts that we consider to be good and the ones that we consider to be bad or distracting, are given to us by the Creator in order for us to use them correctly to rise. There is no good or bad. There's only good. The Creator, one of the definitions of the Creator is good that does good. Every single action that happens is an action of the Creator. But what we need to understand, and one of the things that's very hidden from people when we start, is that these thoughts, they're not our thoughts. We're being managed from the inside and from the outside. The place in which we begin to do something with these thoughts and use them in a correct way, that's the material that we use in order to rise spiritually, to be able to feel that the Creator is good that does good. This is the area where, somewhere in there is the area where we actually have free will. And the free will is to agree, first of all, with the thoughts that we're having, and to understand that they're purposeful. We may not like them. They do make us feel bad, but they're not to be destroyed. They're to be used, just like the story of Abraham and his students. The whole point is that the ascent is made from using both what we consider to be good and what we consider to be challenging and bad. And this is what the method of Kabbalah is all about. It's impossible for us to connect to other people if we don't understand this method, because we will always think ourselves bad or them bad. And it is absolutely critical at this point in history where we are. I mean, if you look at the world and you see what is going on there and you see how completely divided we are from each other, it's because we believe that we have bad thoughts and that other people have bad thoughts and that there is bad in the world, because we don't understand what nature is giving to us and how we're supposed to be using it. Okay.
Okay, we have another question here. Kabbalah Live from the Young Group chat from
Okay.
Joel Gonzalez. Tony says magic and black magic are not real and an illusion, but I have witnessed supernatural phenomena all my life. Didn't seem like illusions to me, and how does Kabbalah explain this?
They are illusions of the ego. They're there to satisfy a need for the person who's viewing them. The thing is that it is impossible to be connected with any of the higher forces without undergoing a change that you could call becoming like the upper force. In other words, on this level, we call that a moral or ethical change. Black magic and magic is the idea, the concept basically is that a person has access to higher forces and uses them for their advancement, or to change things on this level according to their understanding of what should be happening and so on. But a person on this level, first of all, with that intention, cannot have access to higher forces, only to things that are on the material level, in the psychology of people and in the influence of society. How a crowd of people can influence other people. That's what's happening there. It's a psychological phenomenon, but it is not connected to Kabbalah. And that's, I'm not an expert in any of those things, but they aren't, whatever they aren't Kabbalah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready for the next question? This is from Danielle, the YouTube chat. Very nice question. Why do I feel like I always need more, especially if it's not good for me?
Well, the way that we're developed by nature is by a sensation either that we want more or need more, or that we can no longer remain where we are. We're either pushed or we're pulled. So wanting more is kind of a combination of those things. We realize that where we're at is not satisfactory, and we know that we have to move. This is basically the force of development is desire. The sense that we become emptied and need to see satisfaction in a completely different form. Like when you're a kid, a toy truck or a toy doll would be exciting and satisfactory. Like you'd get it and it would be like totally amazing. And when you get older, there are sort of relationship things that you may want, or it may be money, or it may be power, or it may be knowledge. The whole point is that it's leading us to understand that what we truly, truly want is we want connection with the Creator. We want connection with the upper force, to the life of lives, to something that is not limited and is completely fulfilling. But it dresses in us in a desire according to what we can understand, because we're kind of still embedded in those desires that are basically egoistic desires. So it's good and natural that you would have this constant growing need. What has to happen is you need a methodology for understanding that need, knowing how to make use of it, and to aim you at a correct emptiness, a correct need. Not ones that aim you at your own sort of egoistic fulfillment, but the ones that aim you at the kinds of needs that will change your perception of reality and bring good to the entire system.
Okay, thank you, Yamara, for the next question. Relates to bringing good to the entire system, as you were saying, Tony. When you say bestow or do good onto others, do you mean to send them good wishes, good vibes?
Where is this from?
This is from Yamara.
She's a student, or we don't know?
No indication. I believe it's from the YouTube chat, but
okay.
No indication otherwise.
Well, let's talk about what we think of as doing good to others and what actually is good to others. We are taught that actions are good deeds. Like if somebody is in need of something physical, if it's an emergency, yes, go do it. Give whatever is necessary. But when we try to do good in the world through, say, activism and charity and all those things, when you look over the long term, what happens with them, like in places like in Africa and all these places where we sort of insert ourselves and we're dealing only with the surface level needs, in the end, we actually weaken and destroy those people that we're trying to help. Because the impulse that is doing good did not come from an impulse in which, in the first place, in its inception, was a good impulse. See, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know anything about what would be good or bad. We only know that, well, I should do something. Okay, that's fine. But to do good to others means that we ourselves have to be connected to the upper force and act from an intention that is similar and, best of all, identical to that upper force. Because the way that nature works is it's not aiming just at one thing because, oh, there's a need right now. It actually sees and deals with the entire system all at once and for the good of the whole system. That means for us, we can't depend on our knowledge. We have to go to a place in us, through our connection with other people, that we actually reach a place where the outcome is in the initial thought. That good has to be there as a actual correct intention that is completely connected to the intention of the Creator. You know, I said before that our desires aren't ours and our thoughts aren't ours. This one has to come from the Creator, and it comes from the Creator when we cleave, when we're connected, because we have a quality so much like that, or so desiring to be like that, that the Creator's thought can actually becomes ours in an active way. And then whatever we think towards that person, whatever action we take, whether we understand at all what's going on or the complexities of the situation, does not matter. It will work out for good. But it's an intention. That intention has to be without self-concern. It can't refer to ourselves. It has to be completely for the sake of the whole system. How do you reach that? Practice, connection with others, learning the methodology, and studying so that we unlearn our egoistic, limited perception of what those things mean.
Here's another question from the YouTube chat from Heidi, and please forgive my French pronunciation, Taillefer. Is there reincarnation, and if so, is there a way to progress speedily ahead to avoid it?
Yeah, there is. And yes, there is a way to progress speedily. When Kabbalists speak about things in all the books of Kabbalah, they're not speaking about this level. They're speaking about, everything is written and spoken about in a thing called language of branches. That means we're talking about the deepest places in us and in the system that are above time and place. Okay, so when we talk about reincarnation, we really think about, a baby popping into the physical world and all that. Okay, that is a branch explanation or perception, but the root perception has got to do with changing inner qualities. If a person, Kabbalah is designed to help a person fulfill their entire purpose for existing in a single life. That is, it's possible for a person to learn to ascend to a point above life and death, to a point where it's just life and life. If we don't complete that prior to learning about this path, if we don't complete it because the reason we're here is because we haven't completed it. But that's because we needed to go through those things in order to have the right type of need in this particular lifetime to actually go and pursue the real purpose of life. The purpose of life is not to have a career, it's not to to achieve things here physically, it's not wealth, it's none of those things that we normally think of. The purpose of life is to become connected to and one with the source of life, consciously. So up until now, all of our progressions and, let's say, our incarnations have been unconscious. We have an opportunity since 1995, actually before that, because there were other Kabbalists, but in terms of the whole creature, like the entire collective soul, we have an opportunity now because we've reached a need, and it's evident externally, and it's also pretty evident internally, that we're here, we want to know what our purpose is, and we want to fulfill our purpose, and we know this ain't it. So if a person learns the methodology, copies the kind of connection, learns to copy the interconnected nature of all desires and all forces in nature through the method, they can achieve that in one lifetime, and that's what Kabbalah is for.
That was easy.
Except the last few thousands of years weren't so easy, but this one's going to be easy. We have 155 people connected with us. That's great. Welcome, everybody, especially the 155th person.
And we have some wonderful collaboration going on here. This is a question from Faida James to everyone. Hi, Tony. This is Turks and Caicos question.
Nice.
What is prayer, and can I pray for my family to become one with the upper light?
Prayer is a need. It is the most important need that exists in your heart at any given moment. Doesn't matter what you say, that need screams to the system, to the Creator. It is felt, and it evokes a response from the Creator, from the system, to that, because that's your real position in the spiritual development. That's where you're located. There's another aspect to it, that prayer, real prayer, Kabbalistic prayer, is never aimed at ourselves. Prayer is the matching of the Creator's intention for the whole system. So if we want to, the reason prayers aren't answered generally is because we're praying for ourselves. That's like totally against how nature works. Nothing in nature works like that. No animals, no herds, no flocks, nothing works that way. There are individuals in it, but their thought and their hope and their need is for the whole. As a result, they benefit from it. Can you pray for your family? You're working for your family. But your family is still very much part of you. If you are doing the correct work and you're trying to do what's necessary in order to achieve what nature put you here to do, your family will be fine. And anything that they need, and if you can pray for them, that's better than praying for yourself. I'll leave it there. It's complicated. It's not simple, It changes as we grow. But basically, yeah, pray for your family. But learn how to act, what prayer is in terms of the whole thing, about humanity as a whole. That will really help your family. What do you mean it was a collaboration?
Faida James was posting to everyone, asking to other people's question, I believe.
Oh, good.
So they're working together. Nice to see. Here's a live question from Laser. From the YouTube chat. While learning spirituality through Kabbalah, is it normal to feel the confusion of attempting to apply the upper world to our corporeal experience? Is that confusing?
I just want to remind people that the people on Zoom. Oh, there you are! Like lots of you. There's a million of you
Wow.
there. If you want to ask a live question, click on the raise the hand thingy in Zoom. And if you can't find it, write in the chat that you can't find it, and someone will help you. Yeah, repeat that question. It is complex.
Okay, again, this is from Laser. While learning spirituality through Kabbalah, is it normal to feel the confusion of attempting to apply the upper world to our corporeal experience?
Well, absolutely, yeah. That is probably the main stumbling block for people because they think of it when they begin. Because they think of Kabbalah, we all did, and we all do, as a kind of a self-help thing that's supposed to help us in our current material situation, and we're looking to use it like some kind of a skill that we would learn in business or in technology, or you know what I mean. Self-help is like, well, here, just use this with your friends and stuff. You ever notice that those things don't live very long in you? You know what I mean? You can go someplace and learn something, and then you're all on fire. You go back into your life and you apply it for about a month like some kind of a maniac, and you're driving all your friends and family nuts. But eventually you lost touch with it completely and it doesn't work anymore. That's because we're trying to use something in the wrong place and without support. In Kabbalah, the work that we do needs to be reinforced because in ourselves, we don't have much of a spiritual desire. I mean, it certainly feels like enough to us to have fueled us from the time we were children and made us seek out Kabbalah And many of you are probably pretty much on fire right now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be taking the course. But that's very, very small compared to what you are going to receive and the force that the spiritual force and support that you are going to have. The desire that you will gain from working within a specific environment is many, many times greater than this. And if we don't have this and we don't work on it there, we'll end up like the people who go, to these events and then completely lose touch with it. At the beginning, you can't apply those things to your daily life. You just have no way to do it. You have to learn in a special environment, like in a simulator with people who are only trying to do exactly the thing that you are. You need their strength. You need the experience. You need the simulation, because what's going to happen in this simulator, and it's beautiful. Maybe you're not there yet, but if you stick with Kabyu, you're going to have the opportunity to do the work in this way. What happens is you get confronted by all those things that normally knock us off the path. And you learn how that's irrelevant. You learn how it's not good and it's not bad. It's something else. It's something else. And the only place you're going to find that that's something else is when you're working with people. So you don't want to, who are studying with you. That's it. If you try to bring it out, you're gonna make your friends and family upset. It's not going to work for you because you need a fair amount of training. All right, I could go on forever with this.
Okay, and Laser is here live. Did you want to ask a follow-up question, Laser? Question, feel free.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll move on. This is from Arjuna. Hi, Tony, from Honduras, a Mexican here. Question, I am confused with a desire and intention. What comes first? How can I know if my desire is from the Creator? And how do I know if I have the correct intention in order to make a correct decision, please? Triple exclamation. 6 exclamations.
Well, your desires are always given to you in order to teach you. You think if you're a Kabyu student, you think, well, I'm learning from Kabyu and these people are telling me stuff. No, what's happened is you've placed yourself in a correct environment in which the upper force can now teach you. The upper force also works on us inwardly. You don't have an intention yet at all. You have to, it's a matter of unlearning the way that we think and accumulating enough discernments that we begin to find the edge of where that intention is. That happens when we really start working with other people in a 10, like actively connected, so to speak, in real time, working with them, learning with them, and so on. And you will have that opportunity. If you're in the grad environment, then you know what that is. And you need to keep trying to do that. Keep trying to sort those things out. I can't tell you that because it has to do with the way that you're built, your particular, how you have your spark has become separated and so on. It's a completely different set of approaches to this thing. And once you get close enough to it with the discernments, you will work this out. If anybody would tell you that, it would prevent you from internalizing it to the degree that it was real and confirmed in you. It happens. It happens through work, and it happens over time. Kabbalah is a science in which you must experiment on yourself on that issue with other people. And as a result of the experiments, which the Kabbalistic books set up very clearly, This is what's going to happen if you use this methodology and you do it in this form. You can redo the experiment with these people within yourself, and you don't have to worry too much about, oh, I better check to make sure I'm doing this aspect of it. It doesn't work like that. It works like nature. It surrounds us, it works in us according to our own capabilities. So you have to discover it, and there's no way to tell you that.
Okay, it looks like Arjuna has his hand up. Perhaps you have a follow-up question for Tony?
No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, also live from Junie, if you want to unmute, we have a live question as well.
Hello?
Go ahead, Ginny. We hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for being a student in this. It's very exciting, and I'm from Norway. Well, these 613 steps you talked about, or 613 desires. They are able. It's possible to change this or correct them or transform them. So, question one: how do we transform this? And question two is: do we have to transform all of these 613 each person, or did I misunderstood this? Thank you.
Thank you. No, you haven't misunderstood it. 613 represents a complete change of state from separation or a self-focused type of perception to one that is other-focused and completely for the well-being of the whole. But they're not, these desires, excuse me, they're not sequential in a sense. They're like layers of exactly the same quality growing and growing and growing. And it is the interaction with the events that happen between you and other people that you're studying with and working with in the Kabbalistic group that reveal these qualities within us, and that demand, the interaction will happen in such a way that it'll demand its opposite. So all of these 613 desires are egoistic forms of something that are intended to shift to an altruistic form. They come first to us in their corrupted form. So we feel they bother us, they hurt us, they make us, we feel ashamed or whatever it is. The normal stuff that we go through daily in our daily lives, except in this situation, there's nothing else for us to do but to concentrate on what is the opposite of that. How is it possible then to operate as though the opposite is actually true? Because this light, this opposite altruistic light is shining on us to such a degree that we finally can see the shadow of this egoistic desire that prior to this was hidden. So now we have this egoistic desire, and we have this light that, as far as we know, this thing in us is revealing that there's something opposite to us. And now we have the challenge of how do we hold these two things together so that we can work with them, and how do we go above reason and work with it as good that does good. This is what's called righteousness. It's the justification of our interaction with the Creator, which happens between people and in events in our lives and so on. And those are, don't worry about the 613 number. It's not a number, it's a quality, and it represents in this case, a complete shift in consciousness of perception of reality. That's how you work on it, but you have to work on it with others.
Okay, thank you for such great questions. We have another live question from Jenny.
Great.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question about what you earlier said about influencing with the thoughts and magic, because in my understanding, it happens all the time that you influence each other with your actions, and your action comes from your thoughts. So can you please explain a little bit more about this?
Are you asking, do you think I'm saying that there is no influence of our thoughts with other people? I'm not really sure what you're asking me to clarify.
From an earlier question, that your answer was that that there was no influence upon others. Contradictive from my experience. So can you tell please more about that?
Yes. Yes, okay, now I understand what you're asking. What I'm addressing is the difference between the kind of influence, and by the way, bestowal, the Hebrew word for bestowal, ashpa'ah, also means influence. The difference between what Kabbalah means by influence and the influence of an intention or a thought on reality or on society and so on, and the definition of influence and even the definition of thought or desire in our material way of viewing things. Yes, we do feel that we influence each other on the material level. And that's strictly the force of society, because we are really like a hive of bees. We are not responsible actually for anything. We think that the thoughts that we have, and I said this before, originate in us. They don't. So even though we think that we're having a thought and it's influencing another person, or a group of people are having a thought and it's influencing other people, on the level that we're in the material level, we're completely incarcerated, embedded into a material level that is 100% managed by nature. And the influences that we feel and the ones that we think originate in us are actually waves moving through the hive of humans that's coming from our unconscious, unevolved connection with the upper force. These aren't ours in any way, and we don't correctly perceive cause and consequence. We're seeing cause and consequence actually just moving on a horizontal plane that way. Kabbalah is talking about an influence that is above the physical level, that is on the true causal level, and that lines up in such a way that our thoughts become identical with the thoughts of the Creator, consciously, not unconsciously. Here on the physical level, those perceptions of influence they're neither influence nor effect. It's not to say that we're not experiencing those things as though they were like that, but we're not talking about, Kabbalah is not talking about this egoistic level of life. It's talking about how we rise to the level of forces that manage the entire physical level. And those types of influences have got to do with rising to a completely other connection in which we have the same thought and the same action at the same time as the Creator or the upper force does. But all of those things that you're saying, they are true, but they are on a material level. They have nothing to do with spirituality. The influence that Kabbalah talks about is a spiritual influence. Here, all kinds of phenomena on this level, including psychic phenomena and all that stuff, has nothing to do with it. It's all just more and more subtle levels of egoistic life. And they're very subtle ones that we don't necessarily track. It just depends on the quality of the person, their sensitivity. But Kabbalah is speaking about another thing. So yes, you're right, but it's not actually influence.
This is very exciting. More friends want to ask live questions. John Clausen, we'd love to hear your question now.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, John. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. One of the videos in this week's lesson plan, Rob Lightman talks about the top of the pyramid, where highly evolved Kabbalists access and then share the light to those below. You sort of, sprinkling down. I guess my question, if I understood that correctly, is there a tipping point when enough of us are connected that it will turn the tide for everyone, or must everyone go through this kind of journey of their own volition?
Yeah, that's an important point. Yes, there is a tipping point like that, and not everybody can do this work and needs to do it. It has to do with the particular quality of a given spark. Only a small number compared to what we perceive as the population, actually. But it's not really population. It is like parts of ourselves that are unawakened yet. It's all one being, but it's still, there are a lot of, in the human body, there seem to be commands coming from the brain that you say, well, move your hand. All right, you're giving a command to the hand to move, right? The top of the pyramid is like the head of the brain, the Rosh. So you give a command and the hand moves or the arm moves. But do you have any idea how that happened? You don't. All you know is that there was a desire and an impulse, and the sort of unawakened parts, or the parts that are not part of the head, respond to that. And if there can be the kind of connection between the people who actually have this quality of the head or the Rosh or the top of the pyramid, have the right intensity of quality, then it provides, they're doing the opening work for the rest of the body of humanity. And the rest of humanity does not need to know, does not need to join, does not need to work. It's like everything else in nature. The system works from the top down to provide everything for everybody. But we're at a point now where we can't go on if we don't fulfill the role of humanity, which is that a part of the creature has to be connected to the upper force in such a way that it is a channel providing access, what we call the light, to the rest of the body. It has to not choke off, but allow the commands for the next stage of the development of the system. We become, to go to the rest of the system. We become the meta system. It's special. It's not special. I don't know. You just happen to have those. We're built as brain cells. That's all. There's no glory in it. It's just that there has to be that function in the creature. No part of it is more important than the other, but only a small number need to actually do the work and be in that, and the benefit goes to the whole body. And by the way, it's not a number. Again, it's an intensity. So it can be it could be like a few thousand people. It could even be 10. It could be 10 people. As long as the quality is there, and 10 has to be there because that's sort of how we're built. We're built with this quality of 10, and each aspect of that needs to be fulfilled. You'll learn about that later.
It's a perfect question to tie in with that, the work of a group of people. This is from Simone from Facebook. I've read that the real Kabbalistic work takes place in a group. Could Tony elaborate a little more what actually happens in these groups?
So there are people on Zoom with us who are already beginning to work in a group formation. And they know a little bit about this already. What happens is that the reason the group exists is in order to live out the love of others, and by means of a true love or connection with others, to experience the love of the Creator. Nobody has any direct business with the Creator. We weren't built that way. The only way in which we can make this connection and come to love of the Creator is through developing the kind of connection of mutual guarantee to other people, of loving them above the disturbances that happen in us that would say, oh, this person is that, and this group is like stupid, and they don't get it, and all those sorts of, any kinds of things, or they don't respect me, or I don't respect them, all of these normal things. But it's like in a hothouse, in a sense that it's made only to bring the conditions for spiritual growth of this quality in us. So the quality in us is that we actually come to love without barriers, despite barriers, others. And that connection and love for others is exactly the same thing as the love for the Creator, and is the only way to reach it. That's the work that happens working in a group. Even if it is once or twice a week, even if it's just marginally being connected with a society like that, and knowing that that's the goal, that's the only goal, and so on. This is all the things that happen there naturally lead us towards working out a love with others that reveals the love for the Creator. And not only reveals the love for the Creator, but between the people, in that shared space between the people, that's where the Creator appears, because that's what the Creator is. The Creator does not exist in you, and nor in me, or well, maybe in Mary, but no, not in Mary either. It's not in any of the points at all. The Creator is the force that cares for and binds all these things together. We have to come out of these individual sparks and enter in only into that connecting quality between one and another individual, and between all of the people in the group. That's the temple. That's where God appears, and that's the only way to reveal the Creator.
Okay, thank you, Christy. She would like to ask a live question.
I'd like to give a live answer.
Am I unmuted? I'm guessing I am. I actually didn't want to ask a question. I just wanted to tell you I was at the retreat and had the experience of what you were just now talking about. So the connection that was created within our group was actually so profound. It's kind of left me dumbfounded, the things that's changed within my own life and within my own family because of the connection to that 10. And the exercises that we were led through, I found really interesting, a lot of those, because it kind of brought out a lot of our own, for lack of a better word, issues, I guess. It just brought up all kinds of stuff within each one of us. And the connection itself to Creator, and Creator being in the center of that connection, just seemed to resolve things. I don't know, coming out of that weekend, I had a really crazy experience. And my first inclination is always to just hide when things go wrong. And instead of hiding, I actually connected back to one of my 10, because we had just left the airport together. Just shot her a quick message, and this is what's going on, and what do you, like, according to Kabbalah, what do you do with this? Like, how do I act or react or respond or whatever? And there really was no action, reaction, response to the situation. It was something with my son. The power that we felt in our group all of a sudden came back over me. And the situation just kind of, for lack of a better word, again, just magically changed. Things that have never happened before with my son started happening. Things that have never happened before within me, even the strength that I gained from being in connection with that 10 just kind of happened. So that was my experience being in the group and being at the retreat. Very, very amazing thing you guys put on. That was really awesome.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that was an amazing weekend. Really beautiful. Yeah, these things are all these things that we want are really byproducts of a correct connection, which eventually becomes an intention, and we're aiming at a permanent state like that. We got a job to do for the world, and that's how we learn it.
Okay, beautiful weekend. Now you're in big trouble.
Okay.
I have a very long bank of questions. We're going to start the blitz. Tony has 3 minutes to answer as many questions as he can. Are you ready?
Let's get the watch. There we go. Blow it up so I can see the clock. Okay, let's go.
Okay, I'll use my stopwatch. We'll be close. Okay, Stasha Hall, how are the concepts of good and evil best defined within Kabbalah?
There is no evil.
Easy.
That was easy.
Are good and evil subjective, relative, or objective, fixed within Kabbalah? This is from Stasha Hall.
It is completely subjective. It's made out of our resistance to the good, which always first hits us in its opposite form.
Serena Fisher, what must we first change versus what will change us? Is it perceptions that change our desires, or is it desires that change our perceptions?
Willingness and patience is what you need to work on and concentrate on. Everything, the definition of desire and the definition of intention will be revealed to you in time. That's why you need both of those.
Very nice. You too. Mario Robert Marion, does studying Kabbalah help college students preparing for a career? If so, how does it help?
You should take care of your career stuff. Put that first. Learn whatever you can. Yeah, these things always help us because we feel more comfortable in life, but they're not aimed at doing that. Take care of your college stuff and your career and your necessities first.
Well, this one, Baal HaShechina, is there any difference or advantage in reading and learning Kabbalah in Hebrew versus any other language?
The major advantage for you right now is working with and studying with other people. There's nothing to learn directly from the books in any language alone. Eventually, yes, Hebrew is a multidimensional language and does help in grasping things in a way that translations don't. But without a correct connection, we won't get anything out of anything.
Only 10 left.
Go!
Joel Gonzalez, Golden Dawn, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, and secret societies study Kabbalah as well. What is the difference between the mystical Kabbalah and this Kabbalah?
I am familiar with those approaches to Kabbalah. They are not Kabbalah. The difference is this is Kabbalah, that is not. That is an egoistic idea and theory about what's in Kabbalah without the benefit of having learned oral instruction from a Kabbalist in the lineage of Kabbalists.
30 seconds. Ruth Dorsonville, how can you know our mission in life? Example, the right career that helps us in the evolution of humanity's growth. How can we share Kabbalah principles to others in our career?
For career, go to a career counselor. For the meaning of life, go to a Kabbalist.
That was easy.
Okay, next. Sylvia, does everyone evolve in the same manner? 5 seconds.
Yes, we're one creature. We're all evolving together. The idea that we're separately evolving is wrong.
That was easy.
Nice job.
How many is that?
You got about 10 or 11 out of 16 questions.
You said there were 10 questions.
I said, well, they kept banking up. This is so
I would have gone
exciting.
faster.
Everyone kept adding. It was so exciting.
Okay.
Okay, nice questions, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
nice.
Thank
Really
you
good ones.
very much.
And I don't mean to belittle your questions. I'm just trying to answer them fast. So I'm going to like right, wrong, that kind of thing.
Okay, so let's go to the next question from Susan Martin. I'm worried about the future of humanity/life on the planet due to the rise of fascism and acceleration of climate change. What can I do to help reverse this global suffering, or is it all illusory?
Well, it's all good because it's all purposeful. This is how nature works with us, and we're at a point now of a huge leap. That's why we're seeing another explosion of egoism, like the one that happened in Babylon, and also the one that happened at the destruction of the temple, in which everything became sort of belief as opposed to direct experience of the Creator. So it's happening so that we understand, get a better idea of where we need to go, and are willing to take the steps of getting us there. That you're worrying about it is good. That means you're responding to nature's impulse. But we need to understand that the only way to deal with it, for you to deal with it, because you're already here, you're already listening to what nature wants from you. So let me reiterate what it wants. It wants you to learn to connect above differences. That's all that it wants. And that's not easy, but it's easier than you think, because it's only impossible alone. If you do it with a small group of people, you will master it, and all of the things you achieve with those people will change the entire thing. It's only asking you to do this. If you do it, humanity will be fine. If you don't do it, it won't be fine. Because the Creator is addressing one creature. We're all one creature. And where is the response? In you. It's not in anybody else.
Okay, it looks like Arjuna has another live question.
Is this the Bhagavad Gita? The one?
Yeah. Okay, that's a very personal question. What about, Tony, same-sex attraction? In the little Torah, everybody knows about they say about the same-sex attraction. But then Kabbalah arrived in me, in my life, maybe 3 years ago. And then I read about the Kabbalah. It's more than the soul's attraction, you know. Can you explain more about that, please? Sorry, my English, it's very...
Okay, I understand what you asked. First of all of those desires are everybody has desires, and everybody has grades of desires. There are the most simple desires for sex, family, food, and those sorts of things. And there's other grades. There's wealth. There's you've seen these things because you've been studying, right? There are 5 of those, and then there's a spiritual one. Everybody, and it doesn't matter what and who you are attracted to, it all falls into that category. Kabbalah does not concern, it has nothing to do with souls. Souls, you don't have a soul yet. That's what you're trying to develop. A soul is a collective thing. It's not something that an individual has. Kabbalah does not care about any of those, about what you do with your hands and feet. Everybody has desires that are egoistic desires that are being used in a right or a wrong way, that is, with a correct or an incorrect intention. And that's what needs to be corrected, not what you're doing with your body. It doesn't matter. If you work on the right thing, if you work just with the desire and intention and in connection, and like everybody else, we don't bring our those basic desires into our work with other people in this goal. It's the same as at a job. It's like It simply doesn't matter. Don't let that concern you or frighten you. Male and female have to do only with two things in Kabbalah. It has to do with two sides of the same force. Either it is a giving force or it is a receiving force. And the giving force is called male, the receiving force is called female, and it's reflected in nature according to the way that our bodies are built and so on. But those things exist within each of us, and those are what have to come into balance. So don't let the externals confuse you. Forget about that. Just work on the things that Kabbalah says to work about, and that's inner work.
Okay, here's a question from YouTube.
Before we do that, I'd like to,
Sure.
could you let people know about the next semester? It starts on November 4th. Do you have that info there? Maybe you can fill it in. There's a lot of material already open there for the next semester, and you can get started with that stuff. They're going to put links in the chat so that you can connect with it. This is to the chat in Zoom for the people who are already students. I think that's basically it. I actually don't know what else to tell you about that. So check out that material, and it's coming soon. I mean, November 4th is going to be here soon. And
Okay, there is a message here actually. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook and you want to sign up for the course, you can do that. Just look for the links in the chat, please. It's Kabbalah Revealed, and it is with our one and only Tony Kosinec.
it's like, yeah, it's me, but it's like videos of me. But there's a lot of really great interactive stuff there, so that you can, so you don't forget this stuff. You work with it and you think about it, and it builds up in you. And then we have events like this. There are some live events as well.
Okay, all set for the next
I'm
question.
ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
We're ready to go. Question from YouTube. Hello. I remember that Tony said once that the law of attraction is not working as we think. How does it really work? Is it real? Should we use it or avoid it?
Well, the way that the law of attraction, it isn't the law of attraction. First of all, that's a misunderstanding. It's a piece of nature, and all of those things that we learn that are like theories that come from an incomplete grasp of how nature works. They're all important at a certain point in time because they're like stepping stones to finding the complete picture. I'm telling you that. I know that because it happened for me too. I studied all kinds of things, learned all kinds of things, had many teachers, and tried to find. So they're all valuable up to a certain point. But like that earlier question, the cup isn't full. You come to realize that that's not it, and you need to grow, and your desire grows and grows and grows and grows until it's ready to look at the whole picture, at least the beginning of looking at the whole picture. The law, it's not the law of attraction. It is a principle, a law that's called equivalence of form. Now, equivalence of form means that in order to enter into a spiritual state or level, we have to have the same inner quality as that level. It's a desire. And it's a desire combined with an intention. That's the door to every state. If we say at a given point in time, we're at some level, and then more intensity of light shines on us. We attract the light that corrects, and we then hit resistances. Now, what it's doing is it's giving us an example of where our next state and where we need to get to. But the only way we can get to it is to understand that it came from the light that corrects, that it's giving us a specific example in its opposite form. And now it's saying, you must try to feel the mind of your next state. How? By becoming like it. That is, that internally you long for, you try to reach the opposite of, like, you look to give where you would take in this situation. And when your intention, where the desire and the intention is the same as the next state, you can enter it. So that doesn't mean that you attracted it to you. It didn't start with you. You have no authority. You cannot start this process at all. I want to have a red car, a Mercedes, and I want my girlfriend to be a real estate agent. I mean, you can think that, and you can all that stuff, but that thought was planted in you in the first place because it's the next place that you need to be. It didn't come from you. You didn't start it. You're the result of it. Same thing with the real spiritual process. There is a state, a new state shown to us, and we don't quite get what it is we're supposed to do. And through working with others and aiming at this opposite, higher quality, we eventually learn to feel it and enter it. And when we have equivalence of form with it, we are it. In other words, we live that reality.
Okay, Jay Jones on Zoom. Thank you very much for this question. It helps clarify the upcoming course. From Jay Jones, is it a repeat of the same course we are in week 4 of now? The answer is the link posted in the chat is for Kabbalah Revealed 1. The first semester, there are 4 semesters in total, followed by an online Kabbalah community. In your course, there is a next step section where you will find your course. So I hope that answers that. I don't know if you want to elaborate or clarify that further.
That's pretty clear.
Okay. Okay, again, thank you, JJ. Here's a Facebook Live question, Richard Thompson. Facebook Live, you must be here with us live, but not ready to ask a question live. Again, Richard Thompson. Tony, is BB Kabbalah the only way to attain the Creator and prevent another incarnation? How so?
No, I'm not claiming that B'nai Baruch is the only way. If you can find another authentic Kabbalist other than Dr. Lightman and his organization, by all means, that is a way. There is only one way. There is only one way because the whole thing is created by the Creator in a single thought, and the initial thought brings about its complete fulfillment in the end. It's not like there are multiple patterns in nature that bring us. There's one path in nature, and it has to become a conscious path. There are thousands of years of accumulated experimentation, knowledge, and verification only in Kabbalah. This is my point of view. Now, if you can find, if it doesn't feel right to you, and you feel that you would like to seek another way, or you're attracted to another way, you should do it. Nobody is telling you that you have to believe this at all. This is something that you need to try and you need to experiment with, and nobody can confirm it for you but you. I'm telling you what my teachers told me, and what I see in the society, how it works on people, and what I've experienced trying for decades and decades to find a real Kabbalistic teacher. I searched for 30 years before I found one that knew anything. And I looked at all of those things that some of you are asking about, looked into them, studied them to a certain degree, sometimes with teachers. There was nothing there. Not for me. So I know that you have a really good shot with studying in B'nai Baruch, and that's what we're offering you.
Here's a great question related to how long it takes to achieve this new sense of perception.
Mhm.
This is from Michael. I have heard that workshops can generate a new sense of perception that is particular to working within them. How does that work, and how long does it take to achieve it?
Well, there's something that happens right away. First of all, the reason that we don't, our perception doesn't change is because we don't know our own nature. Everything in our current society is aimed at getting us to divert our attention from our actual nature. And if we start to come in contact with it, people say there's something wrong with you. And so it pushes us off. When you're working in a workshop, it immediately starts to expose what you are as a force. You know, it shows you that there actually are just two opposite forces that are being used by the Creator in order to evolve us. So there's an immediate change there where you oh right, this is real. This is a force. This is the only thing really going on in me. And then you begin to look at how to work with it. Now, in terms of the long-term development, it depends on a person, but more importantly, it depends on the state of the group as a whole. B'nai Baruch is an international group. There are thousands of people in it, and at this point in time, actually, we are very, very interconnected on a daily basis. Even in the morning lessons, the daily lessons that happen every day, it is without a center. The center is the center between us, that space that we share together, and it's being conducted sort of from Israel, but it's actually not the way that it was. There's a very high degree of interconnection and of people being in the center of the group. That is, that the experience of life is the shared experience, not the individual experience. So the reason I'm telling you that is that the work and the state of the group that you're in determines also the depth and speed of your development. But so it's very fast now for people. Like our friend said, that what happened to her in the retreat, there were certain things that were almost immediate because of the shared desire and force of that desire. And you know, it can happen very quickly for people. But what we want to get everybody to is to reach a permanent state, not just, ooh, I had an experience, but no, this is how life is. Dima, can we play clip number, the second clip, please? Let's take a look at this.
The purpose of life is to provide us with the means to become aware of and then intentionally grow into an inner nature that's identical to the force that set life in motion. And the supreme pleasure of revealing a single unlimited giving force behind all sensations and events on that journey, and eventually in you, is the meaning of life. The problem is that we're built to receive everything. It's all we can do, even when we think that we're giving. But this is only true physically, because for us, bestowal can never be defined by our physical actions. Even an external act of giving is still something we receive and ultimately aim to benefit from. So the deciding factor isn't that we're bound to receive, but how we receive. The direction of the intention with which we do receive, for whom and for what. That determines both the scope of our awareness and the well-being of all the aspects of nature still waiting to be in our conscious care. Our intentions are purposely concealed from us by the ego, which is beyond tricky. Their correct use never comes to mind in this world, not even in our imagination. And the goal is not something that you can attain on your own, because you aren't and never have been on your own. the intended transformation is a collaboration, an emotional integration into the broader interconnected reality. And that's impossible to achieve through something that you or someone else invented. It has to be passed down, received and learned from those who have also received it and attained it. Genuine Kabbalah is the science of purpose, and its appearance in our lives is the milestone marking the start of the conscious stage of our evolution, the beginning of receiving what can only be called wisdom. It's a tangible offer of a hand up from the upper force with an accurate map and a method of how to invert our intention and learn to live in the next, much more caring stage of human development. Kabbalah is just a term, a name for human comprehension of nature in its totality, which is the only compulsory course in the school of life. There is great beauty, depth, and precision in it. In other words, meaning. But studying it involves something very different than the study of other things. It's not the accumulation of knowledge, though there's plenty in it to be had. It's an attainment, a direct grasp and appreciation connecting us to how everything in existence works, what motivates and brings pleasure, and how we can not only receive that delight, but be a source of it for others too. In this science, it's your transformation and the changes in your inner qualities that is the laboratory exposing nature's deepest secret treasures. Because all of nature opens to us when we become inwardly similar to it.
Okay, in case you didn't see the message in the chat, if you like the video, you can get the entire Meaning of Life Contemplation Kit, and the link is in the chat, so please make sure that you don't miss that. Okay, I think we can beat the record.
Yep.
Okay, I think we hit 12 questions last time, 11 and a half. All set, once the timer starts, here we go. Okay, from Johannes, question, what is the experience of the upper worlds like?
That was easy.
It's like
Tough
beautiful. It's like where you want to be, what you hoped life would be like.
Beautiful. YouTube, Adria Magdil, how do you know that the thought of creation came from the Creator?
Where else could it come from?
From Aleda Sierra, I think I understand we are to use the desires to attract the light. How do we do that specifically if we don't consider that desire right?
The way that we attract the light is by wanting to transform our desires into a form of giving. That's what attracts it.
From Oprah H, what role does fear play in reaching love? How do we work with fear?
We work over fear. Fear is good. Fear of not being able to connect, fear of not somehow losing touch with the Creator is given to us as fuel. Use it, work with it, work over it.
Okay, from Ruth Dorsonville, does eating meat destroy nature? Do Kabbalists eat meat, or are they vegan or vegetarian?
What you do with your body has absolutely no effect on this. This has only to do with desires, and sometimes animals eat Kabbalists.
Oh dear. From David Williams from Cleveland, Ohio, could God be our consciousness?
Our collective consciousness is the thought of God.
Jay Nemanje, is this broadcast running each Sunday?
No, it happens once every semester. So I can't remember what it is. It's every few weeks. They'll fill you in. Every just 6 weeks.
Okay, Ruins of Freitas, how does one deal with abandonment?
Don't abandon. No, really, this feeling of abandonment is very important. It's given to you in order to raise you. So understand that we all feel abandoned because we all feel disconnected from each other. It's an illusion, and that's what we're here to correct.
Another question from Ruth Dorsonville. Can you share a Kabbalist prayer that you recommend to help us align with our mission on Earth?
Help my friends reach connection with each other, and by that, with you, Creator.
Beautiful. From OH, what role does fear play in reaching love?
Love has to exist over hate and over fear. If you don't have that, then love cannot exist. It's like shining a light in the universe. Unless there's an object there blocking it, you don't see it.
15 seconds, Mike Walker. What book should I order?
Kabbalah for the student.
Jack Flash. Why do 90% of people say that the Zohar and Kabbalah is an evil, dark thing? 2 seconds.
Because they don't know anything.
That was easy.
Nice. I think we hit 13.
Well, actually, the reason people say that is because Kabbalah's been hidden. So all of the explanations about what's in the Zohar and what Kabbalah is about have come from people who have absolutely no benefit of having learned anything about it, because it is an opposite. What Kabbalah and what's in Zohar is the opposite of our current state. And anything that opposes the ego, we immediately blame. We say that evil is out there. No, the quality of that, the only evil that there is, and it isn't even really evil, is the will to receive. It's how the will to receive is used. And our tendency is to project it outward, and especially at the places that make us feel it. And that's what Kabbalah does. It's the light that shines through from the beginning of creation through those books, which actually describe that entire process, strike the will to receive as though you're good and it's bad. But what it's trying to do is say, no, come here, this is good and there is no bad. That's why people react that way. So we're at the end of our journey today, right?
It's been a great
And
one.
I want to thank everybody. 178 people connected with us. I think that's even outside of the Zoom. That's fantastic. Thank you very much, friends, for your incredible questions. These are really good questions. I hope that this was helpful and fun. And
We have a few announcements before final wrap up. If you are in Kabbalah Revealed first and second semester, you can get your course book packages with a 20% discount. Check the links in the chat, please. And next semester starts November 4th. If you are watching on YouTube or Facebook and you want to sign up to the course, you can do that. Also, please see the links in the chat. And Pay What You Wish tuition. Thank you all so much to all the students that participated in the Pay What You Wish tuition campaign. If you would still like to participate, you can do that. Again, that link is in the chat. And if you didn't get your questions answered today, please remember to post them in the forum and they will be answered.
yeah, and don't forget about the books, because there are packages of books for your courses. And if you could just maybe stick that slide up there, there's a 20% discount for all of the books that you need for students. And according to your course, you can find it there. There's part 1 and part 2. And if you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube, search for the books. If maybe we could put a link to the bookstore for those people, and they can find all kinds of books on Kabbalah at our bookstore that may answer some of your questions. If you had a question and we didn't ask it, you put it in, we didn't ask it, and you're in the course, go put it in the on the forum at KabU, and our instructors will answer the question. And I don't know what else to tell you except thank you very much. This was fantastic. It was great fun. You're really a great bunch, and we'll see you next time around. And thank you, Dima, for your technical help. And all of the people who helped us on Zoom. These are also people working in KabU. They're watching you, taking care of you, making sure that we can all communicate. They're all Kabbalist students as well, and they're making this all happen. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Music.
Bye. Lena. Or Rachel. I'll say Lena.
I'm sure the light will come and make things right. We are the parts of the one man body. We are the soldiers of the light. We're gonna break these walls together. Gonna love free our minds. We're gonna burn like fire, fire in the one desire. Love is stronger than the dark side of life. Fire, fire with the one desire. 'Cause in the end there's nothing else besides light. Light and love, love and light, light. In the end there's nothing else besides light. Light and love, love and light, light. In the end there's nothing else besides light. No matter what we come in our winding path, you are not alone. I'll always watch your back. So let's just stand